Hello, Degrassi fans, and welcome to the Degrassi Kid Podcast, where each week we break down the history and impact of our favorite teen TV show. I'm Jocelyn, and this week I have a question for you. Whatever happened to Terri from Degrassi? Terri McGreggor was a well-loved, fan-favorite character before she was unexpectedly written off the show and never really heard from again. Terri's quick exit came after her relationship with Rick Murray, a Degrassi student who showed the early warning signs of domestic violence in their relationship. Rick's possessive, jealous, and outright abusive behavior built up to a heavy moment where he pushes Terri onto a rock and into a coma. This event led Terri to becoming the first leading character that was written off of her season, causing fans to become upset at the early and unexpected departure of a character that they loved. But Terri is remembered for so much more than just her on-again, off-again relationship with Rick. Degrassi fans love Terri because she was a strong believer in the Oracle, giving her friends tarot card readings in between class. Terri played bass in the legendary band called PMS, or Paige and the Sex Kittens. And she was a plus-size model for More Girl, a clothing brand that featured Terri in advertisements all across the country. But what happened to Terri in real life? Did she ask to be written off the show, or was she just as shocked by the sudden disappearance of her own character? A question that has plagued the Degrassi fan community for almost 20 years now. So today I thought, why don't we find out? This week, we're sitting down with Christina Schmidt, the real-life actress who played Terri McGregor on Degrassi The Next Generation for 3 seasons. How did she react to Terri's unexpected ending? Is it true that Christina is now a model in real life? In which Degrassi actors did Christina become lifelong friends with outside of the show? Today on the Degrassi Kid Podcast, we're sitting down with Christina Schmidt to talk all things Degrassi. But first, let's listen in to this iconic moment as Terri calls out fat phobia at Degrassi.
Hey, look who it is. It's the more of everything girl. Hey, you know what? I think you should join our sumo team. Seriously.
Hey, most girls on the planet look like this, so get used to it.
No kidding.
I made $500 today as a plus-size model. Yeah, plus size. What do you make, ice cream boy?
Nice, Terri.
Christina Schmidt, welcome to the Degrassi Kid Podcast. I'm so excited that you're here today.
Hello, Jocelyn. I'm so happy and excited. We finally made this happen. We've been talking about it for some time now.
It makes me very happy. And one thing I am proud to boast about is that this is not our first time meeting. I actually met you back in November at Linda Schuyler's book launch. I'm going to put you on the spot. What kind of first impression did I make as a crazy fangirl at that party?
The coolest crazy fangirl I've ever met in my life.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
You were an awesome vibe. Everybody, like Andrea and I were all talking about it. Really, Jocelyn's so cool.
Oh, I love that. I know. Imagine being me and being at a Degrassi party and the actors who play Hazel, Terri, and Liberty walk right up to me and are like, "Hi, Jocelyn. Nice to see you." Oh, it was the best time ever.
That was so fun. Those are me and the girls. I love Sarah and Andrea.
Yeah, you guys were incredible. And you know what? As Degrassi fans, we all daydream about what it would be like to be best friends with you guys. And I'm so curious, what is it about Andrea and Sarah, aka Hazel and Liberty, that make them such good people to be friends with? What's that vibe like?
Sarah is like the coolest human being on the planet. Like, she's like a rock star DJ now, and she's just so down to earth, and she's so smart, and she's such a good friend and always up to cool things. And I mean, Andrea's my girl. Like, Andrea has been my day one since the audition room.
Hell yeah.
And we've lived together in LA. We have traveled. We have just done everything. I went to her wedding in London. And she's just through and through not only such an incredible friend, but a very, very inspiring woman to be around. She is constantly pushing her friends and just so creative and so motivational. She's honestly the best.
Oh, that is so cute. I love how much you guys just love and support each other. It's so sweet. And one thing that was kind of crazy about that Degrassi party we were at is it was like wall to wall Degrassi people.
Wall to wall, the crew, everybody.
Yeah, like Degrassi Junior High, kids at Degrassi Street, Degrassi Next Class, your generation, which prompts our first fan question from Amari is, are you close with anyone on Degrassi that wasn't in your generation?
No, I'm not actually. It's so funny because so many people will be like, oh my God, like you were on Degrassi, so was so-and-so. And they say their name and I'm like, I don't even know who that is.
Well, I mean, that's totally fair because not only is there like a million seasons of the show, but also you were in this kind of like little bubble where you just kind of had your group where everyone else, there's like a new graduating class introduced every year. So it makes sense that you wouldn't know anyone outside of the people that you worked with.
Yeah, because there was 20. Actually, you probably know this better than I. The next generation had, what, 20 seasons?
Yeah, there was 14 seasons of Degrassi The Next Generation and then 4 of Degrassi Next Class, which is basically just a continuation of TNG.
You were on it. You're like, yes, I know that.
If there's one thing I know, it's Degrassi facts.
Yeah, so I'm not too close with anybody who I wasn't on with. And also, like, when I started season 1, 2, like those seasons, there was like 11 of us. And like by the end, there was like so many.
Yeah, that makes total sense. I think it makes sense that all the later kids kind of know each other because even though they graduate and the next year new characters come on, all of your friends are still on the show and you still hang out with all of your friends who are now hanging out with the new characters. So yeah, it makes sense that when you leave in season 3, you don't know the people who are on like season 9. Now, Christina, on every episode of the Degrassi Kid Podcast, I welcome my brand new Patreon subscribers. And this month, we're welcoming 23 new people to the Degrassi Kid Patreon.
I love that.
It's the biggest shout out we've ever done on the show. So let's get started. I want to welcome Laura Chino and Mello Ferrero, who joined at the Doc Cafe and Spirit Squad tiers on Patreon. Our newest Ultimate Degrassi fans are Crystal Redford, Jolene Seep, Courtney Morris, Courtney Gonzalez, and Joss Irene. I love to have a fellow Jocelyn on the Patreon, twinsies. And I have to say a welcome to Amari and Jenny, who are 2 people I've been in the Degrassi fandom with forever. So welcome, guys. And of course, we have to shout out the newest members of our mail out tier. This welcome goes out to Colony Ads, my new friend Ethan, Kayla Smyers, Skylar Kennedy, my cousin Holly, Amy Durant, Racine Ramos, Megan, Adriana Baza, Shay Trimmer, Plasmatic 210, Tish from the TV Deep Dive, Catherine Boyd, and my new friend Jem Shadow. Truly, thank you guys so much. This a huge amount of subscribers has genuinely changed my life. I'm not even exaggerating. This month has been amazing. And I cannot wait to mail out your packages again next month. I think you guys are going to love them. But for now, let's check back in with Christina Schmidt and talk all things Degrassi. Well, Christina, I want to backtrack a little bit and talk about before you even got on Degrassi. When you were younger, you took acting classes, you trained with Second City, Kids on Camera, you had a couple film credits to your name. Yes. I'm wondering if you can give us some insight into little baby Christina. What was she like, and why was acting something that she was so excited about?
Ever since I have been a child, was like, I want to be a performer, I want to be a dancer, I want to be a singer, I want to be an actor. And I had the most supportive parents, which is a blessing because it's, my mom was auditions, dance competitions, everything under the sun of what we could do. And she would take me down to LA and all kinds of craziness because I always wanted to be performing in whatever scope. I did musical theater. I was a competitive dancer. I always wanted to be a model. I don't know if you know it, but this is one of the most iconic it is the most iconic fashion television show. It was Fashion Television, hosted by Jeannie Becker, who's a Canadian icon.
I do know her because she was at Linda Schuyler's party.
She was. Good for you. Look at you. And I still work with Jeannie till this day. And she was actually my number one inspiration why I got into fashion. Because when I was like a young child, I remember Fashion Television coming on and it had the most epic opening.
Yeah.
Like if you're into fashion, dun, 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 dun. I probably sound crazy, but it was like iconic. And I remember being on my mom's bed and the bed was a runway.
Oh my God, I love that.
And I still remember that, just how I was just absolutely blown. I was like, I need to be in fashion. I need to be on stage. I need to be a performer. And then dancing, I love dancing. I did musical theater dancing, jazz, tap, ballet, all of it under the sun.
Oh my God, I didn't know that.
And then the acting spurred from doing musical theater.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, I want to do theater. And then I got a television agent and did some commercials. And then I was just sucked in and I was like, okay, this is it.
I'm here now.
I'm doing it.
Oh my God. And then you get an audition for Degrassi. And how familiar were you with what Degrassi was?
Oh, I knew Degrassi because I watched
Let's talk about
Degrassi High and Degrassi Junior High after school at 4:00.
Oh,
every
my
day.
God.
Like I was a fan. So I was like, what? This is so cool. They're revamping it. And I was really pumped about that audition.
Do you remember
Super
who
pumped.
like your favorite character was when you were a kid?
Of Spike? I
Oh,
love them
yeah.
all. Like you actually probably remember the names better than I do, but like Spike, Joey Jerma, like it was just an overall such a cool show.
That is awesome. I can only imagine that feeling because if Degrassi comes back, I know I'm like 30 years old. I'm getting on that show. I don't care. I'm doing
Yeah,
it.
you will. You will. You
I'll
will.
make it
be.
happen.
I have faith in this.
Ruby wants to know, do you remember your reaction when you got the part? Like, do you remember who you were with, what you were doing, who you were talking to?
I was in my parents' living room and my agent called me and I remember that moment exactly. Like it was the most, like I was in disbelief, like, cause it was audition. And then I feel like there was a good few months before even like a callback. So I was like, okay, didn't get it. And then callback. And then I believe there was even another callback and then a screen test. And it was like, oh my God, when it gets to like that, you're like, oh my God.
What's happening?
And then it just got booked and that was definitely like the biggest role I ever had. And then it was just on. We were doing press tours and everything right off from the go.
Wow. Oh my gosh. I can only imagine how exciting that all was. And I also learned a new fun fact about you during that time in your life. You recently did a TikTok live where you told the story.
Hey.
And yeah, you told a story about how you used to live with the actor who played JT on Degrassi. Can you tell us like how did that come about? What was that like?
Yes, me and Ryan Cooley.
Yeah.
So Ryan Cooley was from out of town and I was just outside of Toronto and it filmed in the East End of Toronto, which I believe you saw.
I did. I went there.
And we were filming like 5 days a week. So my mom and myself and Ryan and his dad, we all got a house together and lived together for those few years. And it was so much fun.
That is so cool. I wish we got some freaking Terri and JT moments more on the show. That would be iconic.
Right? Because
Yeah.
we were buddies in real life. Like he would make me cry of laughter how funny he was. And my mom and his dad are still friends, which is cool.
I love that.
His dad's a badass drummer. It's pretty cool.
Sick. I didn't know that. Well, this is actually a perfect segue to my next question because I know one of your favorite parts about being on Degrassi was playing in PMS and playing in a band yourself.
Oh, yeah.
I want to know, what is your standout memory from being in Paige, Michaelchuck and the Sex Kittens? Why was that such a cool thing for you?
Oh, the filming that was so fun. And we got to go, that's actually us singing on the track too. Like we got to go to a studio and record that music and perform it. And
that doesn't happen normally. That's crazy.
Right? I know. And I was like, that was like my little girl performer like coming out in me. I was like, yes, I could sing and dance and choreography. And I look back and like those epic blue outfits with the glitter and the glasses, like so iconic.
Iconic. Truly iconic. Well, speaking of PMS, which was originally you, Ashley, and Paige, our next fan question comes in from Riley, who wants to know, who do you think was a better friend to Terri, Ashley or Paige?
Ooh.
Terri was such a good friend to everybody.
Except for like, didn't I spook trick somebody with the cards or something like that?
Oh, yes. You used the Oracle to get Ashley on board with PMS changing the song to a pop song.
Was that it? Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, what sticks out to me is remember when Paige backstabbed me and stole Spinner from me?
Yes.
So that is like, how do you forget when a friend does that?
You're so right.
Thing. But then also, you saw how concerned everybody was when the Rick stuff went down. So it's like,
Yeah. I love how much you remember from the show. You remember so much of it.
I actually don't. I'm doing good like I don't. There's scenes that I watch that I'm like, no, I have no recollection filming that. I don't remember that scene. I don't remember those lines. I don't remember that episode. Like it's so funny.
Like I wasn't there. Our next fan question comes from Nick, who wants to talk a little bit more about Terri's friendships on the show. We know that she was close with Paige, she was best friends with Ashley, but were there any other friendship dynamics you were hoping that they would explore on the show?
I mean, just because Andrea and I are so tight, and she was my friend on the show, but like some like bestie energy would be fun, where we could just like play ourselves.
Yeah, I would have loved to watch you guys go off on little adventures and have some main storylines together. That would be amazing.
Yeah.
And it's funny that you mentioned that, because I actually, the most recent time that I was watching Degrassi, I specifically was trying to pay attention and see if you and Liberty ever have a scene together, like you and Sarah. Because I'm like, I know you guys are best friends in real life, but I'm like, I don't think your characters ever interacted on the show.
Mm-hmm.
You guys are in scenes together, but you don't really interact. Like, there might be a moment where, like, like Liberty and Ashley are getting into a fight, and Terry's in the background, like, hanging up a poster or something. But you guys never really directly interact.
That's so funny.
Now, Christina, we had a ton of fan questions come in for this episode, and a lot of them shared a resounding theme, which was that Terri was really the first plus-size character that a lot of teenagers saw on TV. So many people wrote in to say that Terri made such an impact on them.
Aw.
Amber wants to know, how did you feel about playing the plus-size girl on Degrassi?
I mean, I think it was great because although we played into those roles and everything connected to it, it was also just another character at the school.
Yes.
It wasn't just like, oh, okay, everything is about this. It was like, okay, no, Terry's talking about her boyfriend.
Yeah.
Terri has a boyfriend. Terry's dealing with abuse. Terry's talking about her friends. Terry's in PMS. It wasn't just like, okay, let's talk about body positivity. It was just like, here's real life, and it's okay, you know, and just like a natural representation.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I love about Degrassi, is that all of the problems that they explore on the show are always done through their main characters. So they're like, they're these fully developed, fleshed out people that you feel like you go to school with, and it makes those stories so much more impactful. It always makes me think about shows like Saved by the Bell, where the main characters have to be like cool, and it's this core group of 5 people that, you know, never really get into too much trouble themselves. They always meet someone who's getting into trouble. And I always think about this one episode where Zach Morris, it's one of those things where like you auction yourself off for a date to raise charity, and the person who wins Zach Morris is a fat girl. And it's the only time we see her on the show, and the whole lesson that Zach learns at the end of the day is that fat people are people too. Like, and that's the story. That's the lesson of the week, that fat people are people too.
Well, no shit.
Shelby wants to know, did you know ahead of time that Terri was meant to be a plus-size character on the show?
I think it was touched upon in some of the sides from the audition, if I was not mistaken. I feel like there's those audition tapes floating around the internet somewhere.
Those are iconic. Those are so cute.
I saw it once and I was like, when did I have that voice? Like, it was like this little voice. Like, when did I have that? But I think it was touched upon, and I feel like it was part of the audition, but I don't remember for sure.
So this is future Jocelyn interjecting, because I wanted to get to the bottom of this. I knew that when Degrassi released their first box set for season 1, they included the auditions for the original cast members. So like Emma, Manny, Liberty, Terri, and Christina's audition was on there. So this is Christina Schmidt's original audition for Degrassi all the way back in 2001. And just be mindful, it's an audio clip ripped off a VHS tape from 22 years ago. So it's not the best quality, but it is so cute.
Last weekend, I went to this karaoke thing downtown, and of course, I was the first person picked to go sing. So I got up on the stage, totally dying, and I don't know if it was the spotlights or what, but something made me stay and sing. And I was really good, you know, getting really into it, and the audience too. And then I got a sight of myself in the mirror, this fat cow standing on stage. And I stopped singing mid-song, and I sat back down. I'm never going there again.
Oh my gosh, that is so cute. Now, Christina, I have a question for you out of my own curiosity, because, you know, body positivity is only really starting to become a thing now. When you're a 14-year-old girl in the early 2000s, I can't imagine there's a lot of messaging out there that says, embrace who you are, you know, not really until we get Terri out there. I'm wondering, how does that affect your self-esteem when you're, you know, a 14-year-old kid and you go to auditions and automatically you're labeled as, oh, the bigger girl or the fat girl in the show? I
was always very confident, so I wasn't bothered by it. I was always like, okay, let's do this. Let's do this. And I love that I could express being confident in any way, shape, or form. inspire people by that view was great.
Oh, I'm so happy to hear that. And honestly, I really think that came through in Terri because, they do explore moments where Terri kind of feels bad about her body image. But overall, like when she's, she goes to school, she's always involved in activities. She's very funny. Has no problem being like the center of attention with her friends. And even with like PMS and stuff, she's so pumped to get out there with like a sparkly blue outfit on and perform in front of the school. Like she definitely had a lot of confidence come through, I think, in those other moments. Which I mean is a testament to you.
Oh my God.
And I think is part of the reason why people love Terri so much is because she was a character who was confident and fun to be around.
That's so cute. I love that.
And our very next fan question comes from Lauren, who also left a very touching comment about how Terri made such a huge impact on her.
Aww.
And the question that she has is more about the overall representation of the show, because when it comes to Degrassi, the next generation, Terri is really it for plus size representation for girls in the show. So she kind of wants to know, what do you think about that?
I haven't really thought about that, to be honest. I mean, you got to give it to Degrassi for just being pretty diverse overall. Like, I wouldn't take that from them because they did. I mean, I think now if going into it and they could get feedback, and if people think, you know what, maybe there should have been more this or that. But I mean, as a big television show, I think Degrassi was pretty good at representing as much diversity as possible.
Yeah, I agree. I sometimes I get caught in this because I'm like, I know that Degrassi could do better. And I know that they hold themselves accountable to that, even that they recognize they maybe could have done more for diverse representation on the show. But also, when you do sit down and compare to Degrassi to every other teen show, especially in the early 2000s, it's basically just a bunch of rich, skinny white kids who, live in California and hardly ever actually go to high school. So Degrassi really is leagues and leagues above the average show when it comes to diverse representation. And I'm glad we got that at all.
Yeah.
Marie wants to know, when is the moment you realized the true impact of your character? Did that happen while you were on the show? Did it come sometime after, or has it even happened for you at all?
I think actually more so now than ever because of social media. Like, I was quite young when there was no social media at all, but now, with Instagram and everything, like the DMs I get, and I'm like, wow, like the impact is still there, and people reach out and just messages like that, like, you really touched me, or like, you really helped me through high school. And I mean, odd fan connection, yes, but like now when it's like still like 20 years later, that's pretty cool. And when they're like, you're my role model, you looked up, I'm like, for real? I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, I guess I never really thought about that before, that while you were on the show, you'd only ever get to interact with fans if you like ran into them or had like a signing or something. But now it's 20 years later and we're right in your pocket. Like, hi, we love you. And of course, besides Terri being a plus size character, the second most common questions were about her abusive relationship with Rick Murray.
Yeah.
Our very first question comes from Kayla, who wants to know, how did you react when you found out you were going to be getting this big storyline on Degrassi?
That was a big one, because it's like, okay, this isn't just like girl band or like school dance. This is a big issue. So I worked with some acting coaches to really like, okay, we need to get into this role. I don't want to mess this one up.
Yeah.
But that was, as an actor, very exciting to be able to dive so deep into such a big issue.
I know one thing I always appreciate about the Degrassi cast is, even though you guys were so young at the time, you guys always like fully took on the responsibility of making sure you told your stories well, which I always love so much.
Aww.
And our next fan question comes from Glenn, who wants to know, how did you and Ephraim Ellis prepare for those scenes together? Do you do anything special when it comes to a storyline about domestic violence?
Well, we always had rehearsals and just like trying to connect as much as possible as actors, but definitely we would get the script, have our schedule, and have to shoot. There wasn't much all that much time to prepare.
Now, I have a curiosity because I read an interview that you did. It must have been right around the time that these episodes were airing, where you talked about how when you have big emotional scenes, you actually prefer to do less rehearsals for them. Can you give us insight from the actor's perspective on why sometimes it is better to just get out there and do a scene versus over preparing for it in advance?
Even now, or like in my acting career, like when I do something too much, I'll overthink it and I won't even know what I'm looking at or doing anymore. So I think when it's like go in prepared, but don't overdo it. Otherwise, like you're just going to read into too much or like do one line a certain way over and over and over. And I mean, I don't even remember doing that interview, but I feel like that's definitely why.
Yeah, I can definitely understand that because if I think about going through a scene that's very emotionally heightened, you know, my boyfriend is mistreating me and I have to kind of start at 0 and work myself up to 100. If I have to do that over and over and over again, by the final take, I'm going to be like, okay, I have no emotions left. Now, while this is a very serious topic on Degrassi, Christina, I do have to say, the moment where Rick pushes Terri onto a rock.
God damn it.
She falls backwards. Her legs flail up in the air. What is your honest opinion about that moment?
That's the worst. It's the worst. Why did they have to choose that? Because like nobody knows it's a stunt. I'm like, I would have not fallen like that. Oh, traumatic. PTSD to the fullest.
Yes, hashtag justice for Christina Schmidt. That was not you. That was a stunt double. We'll clear the air right now. And Christina, one thing that I really appreciate about you is the fact that you're very open about how being written off the show affected you when you were a teenager. Because, you know, like you said before, you were part of that core 11 who started off season 1 of The Next Generation. And then you were the very first one to be written off the show. And when you're a kid, that doesn't really feel good. And I really appreciate that you don't shy away from those feelings and you talk about those. Can you, for my audience, paint a picture of how it felt for you as a young kid to go through that experience?
It was definitely hard at the time. I knew, and I had things set up with my modeling career already. So it was like, okay, there's other things ready to go. But it was definitely like I was the first one out of the original crew to go. And it was in such a sudden way. And it was like one day to the next. So of course, like, that's just like now my perspective on it is so different. It's like, that's what happens when you're an actor. That's what happens in television shows. People get written off. Storyline, like that is what happens. I was on one of the greatest television shows of all time. Like, wow. But at the time it's like, oh my God. And it's such a different perspective when you're that age. But I mean, with something that holds so much value and is such a huge part of your life will come along with that disappointment as well.
Yeah.
But you just kind of, if you're going to be in the industry and an actor and stuff, you kind of just got to know that those kind of things happen.
That's a really good perspective to have on it, to appreciate it while you have it and know that it won't last forever.
Yeah.
Our very next question comes from Tish from the TV Deep Dive podcast, who wants to know, if you could go back in time and give that little Christina some advice, what would you tell her in that moment?
It's okay. It's cool. Like, don't take it personally. It's you're going to have other big things come up. Don't take it personally. It's 20 years from now. People are still going to be talking about it. Don't worry about it.
Yes. Like, girl, trust me, you're going to be fine.
Or maybe it would be like, Christina, go tell them that you're not to put that scene of the falling rock in it. This will change everything.
Oh my God. I love that so much.
Make your stand.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So after your send-off on Degrassi, you went on to win the Young Artist Award for Best Performance on a TV Series. I have to know, how did you react to being nominated? How did you react to winning? Like, you just went from thinking, oh my God, they're kicking me off the show, I must be horrible, to now winning this award. What was that like for you?
That was a great moment. And look, this is something I had no idea about either, because my mom saves every single thing I've ever done in my life.
I love that.
So I was looking at the nominees, and I was up against Megan Fox.
Yeah.
And I believe Raven Simone.
Yes.
And at the time, like, they were kind of the same age bracket. Like, what?
Yeah. And also Aaliyah Shawkat, who is like famous for Arrested Development, all these comedian TV shows. You bet out one of the most famous people in the world for the best performance on a TV series.
Right. That was a great moment. And that was a fun time in LA. I remember that trip.
Hell yeah. What's a memory that stands out from going there? Did you get to meet any famous people?
I mean, there was a lot of young actors at the awards. I don't remember too much, but I remember that was a really great trip for my mom and I. We like drove down the PCH and really like, that's when I really fell in love with LA. And I was like,
oh yeah, I love that. Did winning, so you had this anxiety of like, oh my gosh, maybe I'm not doing a good job. Maybe that's why they're getting rid of me. When you won this award, did it change your perspective on Degrassi of like, oh my God, I was the best?
No, no, I was just proud of myself. I was proud of myself.
That is so cute. I love that. Yeah. Congratulations for beating Megan Fox. That would be like in my bio. I would be telling everybody that I bet Megan Fox.
Right. And I only realized that just like a few years ago.
That is so cool. Now we're going to take a quick pause on fan questions because I'm going to have my fangirl moment and tell you that my favorite Terri moment on the show is when she stands up for herself. She's getting picked on for being a plus size model. And I'm wondering, Christina, would you ever do me the honors of saying that iconic quote? If you remember it.
Hey, most girls on the planet look like this. So get used to it, right? Am I right?
Yes.
I made $500 today as a plus size model. Yeah. Plus size. What did you make today, ice cream boy? Right? Am I close?
Yes, that is exactly it. This is truly like a Degrassi Kid bucket list item. Terri McGreggor is on my show, said the iconic line. This is incredible. Did you have any idea in the world that would become so iconic and you'd still be repeating it over 20 years later?
No, that was a big moment.
And if you're scrolling on like Degrassi Twitter, it's like one of the most gifed moments of the show.
Oh, heavy. If you're like on my tagged posts on my page, I'm like, oh, there it is.
Now, one of the reasons I love that moment so much is because I know that in real life, you were starting to get into modeling and you were getting recognized as Terri on Degrassi. Can you tell us how that transition happened from you being a model on TV to then being a model in real life?
So there was a company in Los Angeles who wanted to shoot me for a clothing campaign of sorts. So I went down and shot it and they're like, oh, do you have an agent? I was like, no, oh my God, not just for acting. Like, you got to get a modeling agent. Signed with a modeling agency in LA. And then I went to New York to do a test shoot of sorts. And the photographer was like, oh, you need to be signed with Wilhelmina, which is a huge modeling agency. And so then got sent to Wilhelmina. They signed me and they're like, we're going to take over coast to coast. And then it was like, well, okay. And then I moved to New York City and was doing it kind of right from there.
Wow. I love that it just took off for you. Were you like totally losing your mind while this was happening?
It was huge and epic and awesome because I was like remembering myself watching fashion television.
A long ways away from walking on mom's bed and watching Jeannie. And do you have any career highlights that you're like, holy shit, I can't believe that happened?
Ooh, March 2020, being on the cover of Fashion Magazine in Canada.
Oh my gosh.
That's definitely a career highlight for sure.
Wow.
Doing fashion weeks is always fun.
That sounds so cool.
I mean, I've worked with so many fun. I'm very, very grateful that I've been able to have a job I love. Like every brand I work with, I genuinely love.
I love that. It makes such a difference in life if you get to do what you love to do. Like, I want to be a Degrassi podcaster. That's what I love to do. And the equivalent for me of being on the cover of a magazine is having Christina Schmidt on my Degrassi podcast.
That's what it's about.
Now, of course, before we start to wrap up, I do have to ask you about the Drake music video. In 2018, Drake filmed this kind of high school reunion music video to his song called I'm Upset, where he brought back all of his classmates, Terri, Hazel, Ashley, Craig, Toby. They were all there. And Hannah wants to know if you have any standout memories from shooting that music video.
I mean, that was the first time all of us got together in a very long time. So I think just getting together with everybody, and it was a party. So that was fun. And I know Andrea and I didn't see each other for a while at that point. And I was like, she's like, are you doing it? And I was like, are you doing it? And then that was always good.
And what was it like seeing the set again? Was it like super familiar to you? Or are you like, oh, this kind of seems so different now?
Super nostalgic, super nostalgic. I was like, oh my God, I don't remember it being this like this part and this big, and it was interesting.
Yeah, I get that because I remember once I visited my old junior high school and I was like, oh my God, it feels like I didn't even go here.
Right? Right? Yeah, exactly.
So, Christina, I was kind of hoping we could do something fun together before I let you go.
Okay.
A lot of fans, when they think about Terri, they remember, the rock scene. They think about her getting into a coma. And that's kind of the final memory that we have of Terri being on the show. But some fans might not know that there's actually 4 more times that Terri is referenced throughout the Degrassi franchise. And I was wondering how you'd feel about going through those moments and letting us know, did you know about those references? Or if you have any additional insight to add about them. How's that sound?
Let's do it.
Awesome. I'm excited. Feels like I'm on the cover of a magazine. Now, this first one, I know that you know it happened because you were there for it, but a lot of fans forget that there's actually a scene where we see Terri wake up and she's alive and well. And I think they forget about it because it happened so much later, like it's a few episodes after the big event, and it's just a quick moment where Ashley goes to visit her. But I'm curious, it's your final scene ever on Degrassi. Do you have any type of pressure going into that kind of scene?
I don't think it was hitting me in a weird way, if I remember correctly. Just like any other scene. Just like any other scene, yeah.
And Jenny and Georgia, I'm going to kind of combine their fan questions. They want to know, if you could pick Terri's ending, what would you have liked it to be?
Ooh, that is a question. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, did Terri leave schools because she was scared kind of thing?
Yeah, she goes to a private school and we never see her again.
Yeah, no, Terri should have put Rick in his place.
Oh my God, yes. Yeah, I would have liked to just see a normal ending where she just graduates and she's throwing her cap up with Hazel and Paige. I would have loved that.
Right, with all the friends. Oh my God, I've never even thought about that. That would have been nice.
Yeah, I think so too. Now, this next one, I honestly just want to know if you knew that it happened, because a lot of fans still don't even know that it happened. In season 4, we know that Rick comes back to Degrassi. Paige kind of gives a recap about what happened between him and Terri. But there's a deleted scene on the DVD box set where we see that Marco goes and confronts Mr. Radich, saying that Rick's return to Degrassi is super disrespectful to Terri. It's unsafe to the other girls at school. And Mr. Radich says, well, hey, Terri transferred to a private school and she didn't press any charges, so Rick is innocent and free to come back to Degrassi.
Wow, I didn't even know that happened.
And what do you think about Radich even saying that?
Damn, Mr. Radich. That's all I gotta say.
And one thing fans are always curious about is these kind of hypothetical questions of how do you think Terri would react if she had stayed at Degrassi and Rick came to the school? Do you think that she would be quick to confront him about it? Or do you think she would kind of feel bad about the fact that he came back to Degrassi and immediately he's getting bullied?
Wow, I didn't even know that. I don't know, because Terri's had a weak little part of her too. But I think probably after the fact, I think she would put him in his place for sure.
Oh, and shout out to Rachel for that question, by the way. I forgot to say that. But the third time that Terri's mentioned on Degrassi is actually in a mini-sode called Party Etiquette, where Spinner is asked who's the best kisser at Degrassi, and he says Terri McGreggor. Did you know that?
No, I had no idea. Wait, was there a lip-to-lip kissing scene I had with Spinner ever?
There was not. But somewhere off the show it happened.
Oh, so that went down behind the scenes. Hey.
Yes, exactly. What do you think about Spinner saying that?
Oh, I love that. Damn right.
And Adriana left a comment letting us know that she's currently rewatching Degrassi and just got to the episode where Terri and Spinner went to the dance together.
Oh, fun.
And her question is, were you hoping that they'd end up as a couple on the show?
That would have been cool. She wouldn't have had that rock moment if that happened.
Right? And so much more. The Cuckoo Bananas podcast pointed out one time that if Paige hadn't have interfered at that dance, so much wouldn't have happened.
Right?
The school shooting wouldn't have happened.
Right?
Jimmy wouldn't have got shot. The whole show would be different.
Wow.
Right? The whole show would be different. Now, Sierra and Josie Vince had very similar questions, so I'm going to combine them. But basically, if Spinner and Terri ended up together, do you have any thoughts on what kind of storylines they might pursue together?
Oh. What do you think about that? I want a Degrassi fan opinion about that.
Honestly, I think I would have liked for them to get the pregnancy storyline because for this, the reason that they chose Liberty to do that story with is because she's the least likely person you would expect to get pregnant, right? You're Liberty has sex. And Brittany left a comment saying that she thought it was so unfair that we only got to see Terri have one relationship on the show with Rick. And her question was, who would you have chosen Terri to end up with? But I know that you think Spinner, so I would like to propose Craig.
I was about to say, we did have that one deep moment together. So you never know.
Yeah, they both bond over losing their mom.
Yeah.
Before we go, I want to tell you about the last time that Terri's mentioned on Degrassi. In Degrassi Next Class, they celebrate their 500th episode.
Holy shit.
Yeah, they hold a reunion. They bring back fan favorite characters. There's a bunch of references throughout the episode. And one of the references, they say that Terri McGregor is going to perform at the talent show that they're hosting.
Hey.
Did you know about this reference to Terri on Degrassi Next Class?
No, I had no idea. No idea. So was it still PMS?
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to ask you. What do you think Terri would be doing in the school talent show? I think she would be doing a bass cover of Whatever It Takes, like do-do-do-do-do.
I think the same. It would be badass. She would have the same like blue glasses as PMS though.
Oh my God. Could you imagine if Terri came back for the talent show in that outfit? Oh my God. We would have lost it. And that brings us right into our final fan question from Lily, who wants to know, if you were invited back to Degrassi, would you say yes?
Of course.
I love to hear it. And do you have any plans to like ever return to acting again?
I do have plans to return to acting.
Mm-hmm.
I'm super busy with a bajillion things right now, but it's been on my radar for quite some time now. So it's there and it's floating around. Yeah.
Well, I'm excited. Whatever you act in, I'm going to watch it. I'm going to be its biggest fan. I'm going to watch it right when it comes out. I'm going to get you autograph my DVD. I will be your number one fan when you come back to acting.
Love that.
Now, Christina, the time has come. We've jogged all your memories about Degrassi. How would you feel about being put to the test and seeing what you can remember with some Degrassi trivia?
Okay, let's do it. I feel like you'll win, but let's do it.
If you think you have whatever it takes to beat Christina Schmidt at a game of Degrassi trivia, then head on over to patreon.com/Degrassi Kid for a fun little bonus video that we filmed together. And stick around to the end of this episode to hear your name on our list of Patreon subscribers. But for now, let's say goodbye to our new friend, Degrassi's Christina Schmidt. Christina, the very last question I have for you is, what are you up to today and where can fans find you on social media?
I'm still modeling and in the fashion world and doing a bunch of social media stuff. I do a lot of foodie stuff, travel stuff. I guess Instagram's my main platform. I'm new to the TikTok world, but on both platforms, it's Christina.m.Schmidt with 2 T's. My real last name only has 1, but 2 T's. I try my best to reply to fans and stuff like that. So
yeah. Oh, I wanted to tell you because so Christina was hosting a TikTok live, but she didn't realize that she needed a certain amount of followers before she could go live. So I slammed it all over social media, letting everyone know, go follow Christina, go follow Christina.
Yeah, thank you for that. Because overnight I was like, hey, oh my God.
We got you to your goal, which is so cool. But I wanted to tell you that when I was posting all these things about that you guys should go follow Christina, there were so many comments that were like, oh my God, Christina responded to my message one time. Oh my God, Christina said this to me one time.
Aww.
Because you really do go out of your way to make sure that you respond to everyone. It's crazy.
Always. Oh, that's so sweet. Yeah, no, I definitely try my best.
It shows, and it makes such an impact. I appreciate you so much. Thank you for coming on the Degrassi Kid Podcast. This is truly a bucket list dream come true.
Thanks so much, Jocelyn. Thank you. Talk to you soon. See you on Instagram.
Thank you, Christina. Bye.
Bye.
I have to give a huge shout out to Christina Schmidt for being so freaking cool. Can you believe that we all just hung out with Terri from Degrassi? That is so cool. I want to say thank you again to everyone we already mentioned on the podcast, those of you who joined the Patreon this month, those of you who left questions for Christina. Thank you so much. And a big, big thank you to all of our other Patreon subscribers like Annie C and Annie M, Alyssa, Becca123, Brittany, Chrissy, Dave, Degrassi CSI, Emily, Gina, Evie from Evie Treasures Etsy Shop, Julia, Julianne, Kat, Kylea, Lauren, Lizzie Games, Max, Marisa, Mark, Molly, Owen, Rachel, Rebecca from the Trail Mix Podcast, Randy, Riley, Ruby, SB, Shane, Sarah J, Sanita, Susan, Sawyer, Shelby, Stephanie, my best friend, Stevie Jarawa, and Trevor. You guys made this month so much fun, and I can't wait for you to see what's next. Bye, guys.